Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another masterpiece conversation. I hope you're doing well and you're having a great weekend. It's already been a lot of things on Saturday. For those of us who are up and running, you can see that, right? But all in all, it's good because you're alive, you're well, and that is important. But today we are wrapping up on our conversation on money mistakes that we make. We all come to America with a lot of ideas and a lot of hopes, and all of that has a bit of a basis in money. But how do we manage money? What are some of the mistakes that we have done or we've made that we can actually learn from and share, so that someone else who is doing this journey will be better off knowing what to expect? So today we are going to talk to one of our board members. She's been on the team with us for a while now. So if you've been on any of the conversations, I'm sure you've seen her. Her name is Akos. My name is going to be Tina. So if we haven't met, let me introduce myself. I am the founder and the executive director for Masterpiece, which is all about helping immigrants and minorities here in the US get the resources they need, including some of these invaluable, conversations, so that they know what to do at what time and they can succeed. So if you're ready to chat with our coach, and today is really about you, it's you sharing your experience, and then it's us telling what we've seen and what has been the experience that we've had, and some of our sometimes not so good moments, but good for us to all learn from. Pretty humbling. So tell someone, I want you to share this very informative and educative program with someone. Tell someone we are live and that they should join, and they should share their story as well. Okay. If you're on there, I want you to give me a heart or a thumbs up, and then let's welcome our co-host to join us today. Hello, Akos. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Lady Pasatina.
Well, we are blessed to have you. It is a good afternoon, and we are, in different time zones today. So I appreciate you taking the time, waking up early to join us today, because this is really, I mean, something that is near and dear to what we do here, just helping to educate and to empower immigrant populations so that we know what to do and we are able to succeed here. All right, so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, of course, we've had you here for a while, but every day is a new day because someone new is popping in and is watching today and just stumbled on the video. And we want to ask, who is Akosia in her own words? We know you as a masterpiece, behind the scenes, coordinator, volunteer, mentor, QA manager, everything else. So, Akosia in her own words.
Well, thank you again for having me. Akosia, in my own words, that's
Mm.
whenever I'm asked that question, I don't know what to say because I'm always doing so many things. But on a personal level, though, I love to travel. I like to help friends and family organize fun events.
Mm.
I love parties, so I'm always,
Oh,
with somebody every weekend or, at an event every weekend,
right.
trying to make sure that some people are having fun. And I believe that life is short, so I just enjoy myself. But in the meantime, I'm realistic. I take all the precautions that need to be taken. And so that is the reason why we are talking about, we are having a conversation today, which is going to be
Mm.
about money. So, in a nutshell, I just love to have fun. Thank you.
You're a fun girl. You're the one who has the parties and organizes the parties, and we know where to find you, right? All
Yes.
right. All right. That's good to know. So, well, welcome again, of course. And let's just dive in. If you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. And by all means, share. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, follow the page here on Facebook, and then all our, platforms, and continue to get all these educative, messages that we are putting out there. Okay. But of course, let's talk about money. Money. It's an interesting topic, and it's also a sensitive one sometimes, right? So money, we know we all need money. We know we all have to have money for everything we are doing here. But then here's a case that, for us in the diaspora, for us who have traveled, yes, we want to make money, but at the same time, we can find ourselves in a bit of a challenging position with the mistakes that are so common to us. So let's start with money. Your thoughts about money generally, and then we can start talking about the coffee chat one, which is where are the places that we easily make mistakes when we travel to America?
All right. Well, I'll just go back to the Bible, right? The Bible
Mm.
says money answereth all things. And I think a lot of us know that when you have money, a lot of challenges that you face are easy to overcome because you have the resources, right? However, money has to be thought about in so many different ways other than the physical cash, the physical money that you would have in a bank. And so that's what I want us to think about today. And then there is another scripture that talks about in Ecclesiastes that talks about investment, right? And it says invest in 7 different ways or even 8, right? So when we start talking about money, you have to also look at where your money is coming from, where it's going, what investments you are doing to, build the wealth. So, in a nutshell, money is more than just earning the physical money that you get from your day to day job, your 8 to 5 job. It's a little more than that, and especially when you are in the American system, it's a whole lot more than that. And I think that is the essence of the conversation because we will have to touch on so many things that add up to that wealth creation, that money building that we will talk about today.
So, Akosia, then in the sense that money is important for all of us, of course, we're all coming here hoping to be able to make some money. You said something about how we make the money, right? And where we put the money. So, how do we make the money? Because a lot of us come in, and we want to make money. I mean, right away. We do. We don't have the time. There's just so many pressing things that we have to make money. And that is okay, right? But how we make the money and how where we put the money, right? Sometimes we start making money and then everything starts supposedly supposed to be going the right way, but it starts going downhill. And is it because we have not taken the time to understand how the money works here? Whereas, in different countries, when you have the money, it's pretty much all the money is yours. But here, when you're making $15, you may end up taking home maybe about 12 or something dollars, right? So it's not all that you're getting. Like all you're getting is some of it, but your taxes are also part of it that you may not have thought of it when you started thinking, oh, I'm making money, but yeah, it's grossed up. So you're going to have to think about the net that you're making. Let's talk about that for a minute.
All right. So we all come again with different backgrounds. We are an immigrant platform. And so when we all come in, depending on where we are in terms of career experience, education, what type of jobs we can get in, when we get into a job, we are going to be earning a paycheck. And usually that's where it starts, right? Whatever the scenario, you're going to be earning a paycheck. Now, if you don't get anybody to educate you about this paycheck that is coming in, basically the Ghanaian mindset, the immigrant mindset, I got a paycheck, it's $200, it's $500. Hey, that's the money I have in my pocket to spend. However, if you are listening to us today, I want you to make a note that financial change that you want in life starts with that first paycheck. And nobody would tell you usually because you've just come in. There's so many things you're dealing with. Sometimes you are even just going to school. So that paycheck is maybe, the campus jobs. What do you call those, on campus jobs that you have? So it's not nothing. But in order to build wealth, you have to have a certain mindset and you have to have some behaviors. So that paycheck that you are getting, be it 200, be it 100, 1,000, you have to start saving. And that is one big thing here in America that you have to do. Actually, it's not just in America. Even when you are in Ghana, right? Everywhere you are, you
Mm-hmm.
need to save money. But you have to have the mindset that no matter how much money you get, some need to go to savings. Some of us have, know about tithing, before we immigrate. So we understand that, yes, some money goes into your tithe. And then you also need to put money aside for something else. That saving we'll dive more into it later on in the discussion, but it could go towards so many different ways. Now you want to make sure that you put the money in a place that it makes more money for you. And that is the theory that we got to learn and build and understand. Where do
Mm-hmm.
we put this little extra savings so that we make more from it? It's
Right.
certainly not just a savings account, it's a little more than that, but we'll come there. So, the beginning of it all is when you start earning a paycheck, no matter how small it is, that you build a habit of putting something aside. $10, $5, $20, $50, put it aside, because that is what is going to help you in the future, work for you, and earn you something more that you can use for other things in the future.
Hmm. So it doesn't matter what or the amount that you're making. It's actually the habit of building it. But of course, this is the challenge, right? You came to America, you have family back home. Everybody thinks that the fact that you landed here in America, you are rich, like you got it going, and they don't know that you're now coming to pay your rent, you're paying your transportation. You have to, even if you're taking a bus, right? You're now trying to find your feet in this new place. Food, everything is expensive, although no one really says it. When you're out there, it looks like everything in America is cheaper or easy to get, right? But no one tells you the reality till you get here. And even if you're staying with a relative, it's still not going to be much different. You still have to contribute. So here it is, you have the paycheck, but then you feel like you have this responsibility to take care of everybody back home and meet the expectations. And you are saying, well, maybe you can do that. But at the same time, even if it's just $1, put it aside and start building the habit. How do you do it?
So it's definitely a mindset, because when you travel, and I know everybody's
Mm,
situation is different, but one thing I always tell my friends when we are talking about money: if you are not okay, Lady Pasitina, how do you help someone, right? If
mm,
you are not, well, if you don't have money, if you owe money, how do you take care of somebody if you are in debt? You don't have enough to feed yourself, you don't have enough to take care of the needs that you have. How do you help someone? So
right.
that mindset needs to start from day one, that you need to be at a place where you are able to take care of you,
Mm,
and not in a selfish way, but at least you are able to pay your bills minimally and put money aside as part of taking care of yourself, and then take care of other things, right? So if you are not at that point, it's not it's not advisable that you are dishing out money when you are not at the point where you can put a little bit aside. And
mm,
that little bit is, according to your own definition, right? It could be, like I said, $5, $10, every
mm,
paycheck that you receive that you are not touching. This you are leaving for the next 10 years, 50 years, whatever it is that the goal is, right?
mm,
So you have to come to a place where in your mindset, taking care of yourself includes saving, and then beyond that, giving. Again,
mm.
there's time that you may have to make a sacrifice, but making a sacrifice doesn't mean you do make the sacrifice every day.
Right.
If you are in a circumstance that you have to make a sacrifice and send everything that you have, because it's a situation that you can't do anything about, that's fine, but that should not be a habit. So that mindset needs to start from day one of, if I make a sacrifice,
Wow. Okay. Of course, I think I lost you for a minute. All right. But I think that what you said is so important, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult because we are very compassionate people. I think, I mean, one group of people that you can meet that you know they have a heart for others and helping are immigrants, no matter where they're coming from, whether they're from Mexico, whether they're coming from Ukraine, anywhere we are, we know that we have a heart to give. And that is, I mean, something that's part of us. Hey, Florence, good to see you. So whether we're coming from Zimbabwe, like Florence, right? Or you're coming from Ghana, like Amani, I see you on there. And everyone else, we all want to give. We all want to be able to support our families. But here's a case that sometimes is just not realistic at that point. So how do we how do we create that I'll call it boundaries, right? How do we help, ourselves by putting this, mindset into work practically? So let's say I'm making $500. I just got to the US. I have bills to pay. I also have a family that I know coming from where I'm coming from. They need help. They need it. Not like they want it. They need help. And I want to help, but I'm paying my rent of $400 a month. I'm paying electric and all that utilities for maybe $100. And if I do my 500 a week times four, I'm at 2,000, right? And then I have to look at food and transportation, and I'm pretty much left with about maybe let's say 500. Can I realistically then share just $100 with my family and then put another $100 somewhere else and have a 200 upkeep money? Is that how you're thinking we can do it? Hi, Sheila. Good to see you.
Yes, like I said, it's a mindset, right? So, yes, no matter where you are in that stage of earning a paycheck, build the
Mm,
habit of saving money. You are always going to be in this cycle of always in a hole. So, in order to break the cycle, you need to start saving money. I
mm,
do not care what part you are, what build that habit of saving. You always be in that cycle. And I know people who've lived here, immigrants that have been here for years and years and years and still have not progressed because that mindset has not changed. And so, as we talk today, I want all our listeners to know that the mindset is very important to making a change in building wealth. If you don't, make that intentional effort to save and to walk that path of building wealth, you stay in that cycle of always being in a hole. There is always going to be needs, Lady
mm,
Pasatina. I mean,
mhm.
there is always going to be needs.
Always.
There are needs today. There were needs before we were born. There are going to be needs after we are away from this earth.
Yeah.
So, everybody, yes, at some point in time is called on to help meet a need, but you can't be the savior of the world. You can't even be the savior of your family. I mean, and it's not in a selfish way. I love my family. If anybody in my family was to come to me for help, I mean, they will tell you, I will help them,
Mm,
right? But I still have that mindset of I need to put money aside all the time. So that money that I'm putting aside, that's not the money that I'm using to help.
mm,
And this started a long time ago. It took me a while to get there. And we'll talk about
yes.
money mistakes later. But once I learned that and I realized the benefits of having that cushion, something on the side that you
Mm,
can look up to when you are, stretched, you realize that it's a great place to be when you can always go back to your savings and use that savings for those emergency times, etc. And if you can take care of yourself again, how do you take care of someone else? So
mm.
no matter what it is, you have to come to a point of I'm putting this money aside every paycheck. Build that habit.
So, habit number one, or mistake number one, I think we already talked about, which is not changing our mindset. I think that is our first mistake here. We are thinking we have, we're making $20 an hour and all the $20 is coming to us, and it's not coming to us. We are paying tax, and then we have so many other bills that are eating into our $20 an hour. So we have to know that, and we have to start building our mindset again around saving. So the mistake number two is, of course, yeah, we've been dealing with some of the mistakes already. Just we didn't call it out, so I'm calling it out. Mistake number two is not saving and just living from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And then we deceive ourselves and we say, oh, it's because we cannot save. But I think you made a comment earlier. It's not even how much you make, it's just having that habit, of how do you manage a dollar. And I keep telling my kids, if you know how to manage a dollar, you'll be able to manage 10,000. It's like, if I know how to divide this dollar into and break it down as to what I want it to do for me. Last week we were listening to Uncle James, and he said, every dollar should have an assignment. I'm like, boom,
Yes.
that's right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't even matter where you are in the world, so you can be in Ghana, you can be in the UK, whatever currency you have, if you know how to manage it, that is, the key to you being successful, right? So let's
Yes.
let's talk about some of the other money mistakes that we make. Like, we come
All
here, we
right.
think the other thing. I mean, I think I'll let you go with that one. You go ahead. I would tell
Oh,
about some of my mistakes in a bit.
okay. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two things. So when you start working, most companies where you work, they have 401k.
Mm,
Not every company, but most companies give 401k. And it's optional. Most of the time, it's optional that
yeah,
you contribute, and then they add some. They also top it up at 5%, 3%, whatever it may be.
right.
And for an immigrant, for me to put that money away off my paycheck, sometimes that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So that was one of my learnings that I had. It took me a long time to understand that my little paycheck, I can't put some money aside for food. I need all the money because I have to, I have a lot of bills. It took me a while. But
Mm,
once I learned, I think I worked for one company, and in that company it wasn't optional. Like, you had to
oh,
contribute. And then when I started contributing, I saw how quickly I earned money on my 401k. And that was a big lesson for me at that point. So I was like,
mhm,
I'm never stopping this, right? The other
right.
mistake also outside of the 401k we do is not learning about credit.
Oh,
Credit is huge in America.
oh boy.
So you need to understand. I mean, and you hear people talk about it all the time. They talk about credit, and a lot of us don't understand what this credit is, right? They
Mhm,
think it's a number. How we get that number, the whole background behind it can be so complicated that we don't even try to understand what it's all about. So the number two mistake I'll talk about is credit. So let's talk, focus on these two.
mm,
Beyond that, money has to be learned. And, making financial progress and learning about wealth, you have to take time and understand the system that we are in, how it works, how you can build that wealth, how, there's so many different ways you can do that through investments, through business. And these are all learnings that you have to go through to be able to build the wealth. So before I go too far down, I think we talked about mistakes number 3 and 4, which is
yeah.
credit building and 401k. We can,
Well, let
pause
me
there
ask you
and
about
see.
credit. Let me ask you about credit. And if you're on there, so you can ask your question, right? Because this is a time that we are all going to, share, because these are money mistakes. Some of us, we've made quite some mistakes, like, really, that you are keeping to yourself and you're thinking, oh boy. But look, it's in sharing that we actually learn a whole lot from each other. And Sheila said it rightly, that the poor will always be with us, because sometimes we think we can save everybody. I have had to, sometimes people reaching out from different countries about what we do in Masterpiece, and we cannot help you when you are, in a setting. We cannot. It's not, we can't save everybody. We can't help everybody. That's why the good thing is we have a lot of not-for-profits, right? And everybody is doing some at a point. So we can't do it all. And we have to be okay with that, because that would take a lot of pressure off us in that sense. But you talked about credit. And I think that is something that I would say I'll combine it with another mistake of not, leveraging a financial advisor in America. You know that a lot of the 401ks, right? If it's with Fidelity or with any of these big platforms, they all have free financial advising for you. It comes with it. A
That's
lot
true.
of us never leverage it. So you could actually, wherever your 401k, whether it's with Deloitte or with,
Fidelity,
Melody
yeah, it's
or Sign, whatever, platform you use,
Transamerica, yeah,
any of them, they
yeah.
all provide, a financial advisor. And you may not know it, but you just have to call and you will be able to talk to someone who can help you understand where your portfolio is, what you can do with it, how you can go with it. But I even want to take it a bit further to when you don't even have anything. I think that is a great place to have a financial advisor because then you can even plan your life, you can plan your financial goals, you can have goals. That's because we have the goals in our minds when we get here. But because we are not working with anyone, right, to keep us true to the goals that we have, it's so easy to get a call in the morning for whatever amount and then take all your money and just dump it out there, right? And then be back to zero. So credit financial advisor, I think that is so important. And I learned to have a financial advisor quite late in the game, but I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'll take it, right? And just being vulnerable because they're going to ask questions. Like you have to be honest about where you are. And sometimes it's embarrassing to see that, oh, so after all these years, right? This is all that you have. Like, yeah, that's
Yep,
what you have,
yep.
right?
And I can't agree with you more because I think a lot of people think of financial advisor when they have money. But you
Mm,
need a financial advisor when you're at ground zero so
yes,
that they help you go up the
yes,
stairs, the ladder, right?
yes,
So
yes.
if you are here and you're listening to us, I want to make a point that please find one financial advisor that you can talk to that can look at your situation and guide you so that you can build wealth.
Yeah,
It's very, very essential to our wealth accumulation in here in the US.
yeah.
So I think you make a great point, Lady Person. We need to stress that people need to reach out to these financial advisors. Sometimes you can find, start with somebody who is a friend who understands that helps you, but
Mm.
eventually you need to go to a licensed professional that will guide you so that you take the steps, the necessary steps to grow your wealth. So
And
it's
even
financial
right here,
advising
like
is
right here, we've had all these people who have come on the show on different occasions talk about Cynthia, Dr. Ampofo, Richard Makope. We do have a whole list that we can share with you. It's been like a year or two that we've been talking finances here, and I can count how many people have really taken action. And here we are, 2023, August, and I want to challenge everyone. You're listening and you're still not sure, should I mean, what do you lose? Like, what's the name? Pastor Ivan was saying the other time, what do you lose? Having a financial advisor. All you need to know is one day you wake up and your money is multiplied, and like, oh, cool, right? So take a step. Get someone who is, because it holds you accountable. Like you're not able to spend as much without a financial advisor, you would spend. You would, well, but when you're spending, you think about it like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to meet this person. I'm going to talk about what I've done this past month or whatever quarter. Like, what did I do? Right? It helps you, it grounds you a lot. So that is important. But back to credit, because that is one place, that a lot of us, we trip, we fall, and sometimes we fall very bad. And the reason being that we normally come from a cash society. We are not really built on this, borrow and pay later type of thing. So we come, and then all these offers are great. We talked about at the behind the scenes. We said how the fine prints are not told, clearly. It just runs over it like, oh, and by the way, blah 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 blah. And you say, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can have free, 10 months, no interest. But what you didn't hear is what happens when the interest actually kicks in, or you didn't even read it. So, how do we educate ourselves about credit?
all right. again, I will just give a little background of what I've learned because it's taken me so long to understand even how credit works, right? There are several factors that contribute to your credit, and people don't understand. Um, uh, Down the line, the length of credit counts and it
Yeah.
contributes to the credit score. Also, your payments. So if you are making payments of any sort, what your bills or credit cards, whatever financial portfolios you may have, mortgage, etc., they also affect the score that you have. So if you make on time payments, you get good scores. If you miss payments, it affects your score in one way or the other. Just doing enquiries, right? When people here, we buy a lot of things on credit. You're going to take a car loan, you're going to take a house loan at some point. You need a credit card at some point for, consumer goods, etc. They are going to pull your credit, right? These credit enquiries also impact your score. So you have to be aware of some of the things that are impacting your score. I also talked about the age of the credit. So when you first come as an immigrant, you are at zero. There's no credit information about you. But as soon as you get a credit card, and you start using, you start building that credit. And then over time, all of these factors and the types of different loans that you have all impact the credit score that you have. So
Mm.
if you are at a point where you understand that credit score, then you hone in on where your number should be, because the better your credit, the better the interest rate that you get on the loans that you try to apply for in the future. And we all have goals. Whenever we have a goal to do a big thing, say build a school, do a business, etc., etc., it takes time to get there. So that time that you are using to get to that goal, you can work on that credit score so that you move it up. Sometimes we do things that we don't realize is impacting. We may have a hospital bill that we don't pay, and
Mm.
then the hospital bill becomes
Connection.
a collection, right?
Yeah.
That impacts your credit score. And sometimes you do things that you don't realize that they are going to impact your score. So you want to at some point have a credit monitoring service. There is so many of them these days. Credit Karma. I mean, for the big credit bureaus, all the three bureaus that we have, they all have free services that you can sign on to and check your
Mm.
credit, look at it. If you don't understand, that's fine. That's where the financial advisor we just talked about comes in. Show that credit score or your credit report to a financial advisor who can explain to you, this is what's going on, this is what you can do to improve. I'm telling you, if you consciously monitor your credit within a time span of 2 to 3 years, you can make a big impact, because you are targeting some of the things that you need to do to improve that score, to help you create wealth and get certain loans in the future to meet some of the goals that you have to meet.
Mm.
Now, beyond the credit, understanding the credit score, which you need to make an effort to understand it. I can't stress that enough. Or have somebody help you and walk, take hold your hands and walk you through the whole thing so you understand the decisions that you are making that are impacting your credit score. Because over time, that credit score is going to help you invest in something, right? Maybe get a house,
Yeah.
get a car, do a business, get some business credit, etc., etc. So you want to make sure that you are looking at it to help you in that future, in the investments that you want to make in the future. And then later on today, I also want to talk about some of the investments that we have. And this is also something I learned later. And I wish I had known all of that earlier, because I feel like if I had known, I'd probably be a millionaire by now. But I didn't know. And I don't want, my fellow immigrants to suffer. I want them to understand. I want them to be intentional. I want them to learn. There's so many investment portfolios, but the three big categories, if you talk to any financial advisor, is we have the tax now investment portfolio, we have the tax later investment portfolio, and the tax never investment portfolios. So we'll dive a little more into those different portfolios, but it's good to learn about financial systems that we have here in wherever you are, so that you set
Mm.
yourself up for success to create your wealth.
Amazing, amazing. So we should have a financial workshop, right? Bank of America is willing to host one for us. If you guys are interested, we can definitely have that as something that we can run and we can have happen. but you have to be interested in it, right? You have to
Mhm.
be ready to sign up and show up and learn, because that is the only way. That's the only way that you get to participate and be active in the financial literacy. I mean, talking about credit again, I think that, before you even get credit, okay, understand the basics. Don't just get a credit card because you went to the grocery store and they said, "Oh, if you like Target or maybe Walmart credit card," because they said if
Goals.
you can, or Kohl's or Macy's, right? You know, and some of these are tempting, right? Because you're buying the stuff and you buy clothes by all means, right? But there is some wisdom and rhythm to it. So before you even get a card, make sure you understand the basics of what that credit is going to do for you. And sometimes we get the credit card and we are saying, "Oh, we are going to just use it for this." And by the time you realize, some of them are you can use everywhere. So by the time
Max
you
out.
realize you've now, used it so much, you have like 20,000. So let's talk about some of us who have made the mistakes and are in the mistake now with credit. Because I know a lot of us sometimes we overspend. And if you really take the time to look around your house today, you will see that some of the things you bought on credit, you haven't used them or they are not needed, right?
Mhm.
But you have to pay for them. You have to, that extra TV, in the basement that no one is watching. And it's there, but it's a credit that you have to pay for, you know? So anyway, how do we get out of it? Like, we've made the mistakes or we are in the mistake now, and now that you're saying it, we are like, oh my goodness, is there a way out?
Yep.
Can we get ourselves out of there? I think we can, because I've been there, done
Yes.
that, right? So let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
So there are several ways, and again, everybody's situation is different. Sometimes it's as simple as taking on a side job and making extra
Mhm.
income and paying down your debt. Sometimes,
Yeah.
in some other scenarios, you may have to, again, a financial advisor will look at your picture and advise you. Sometimes you do a debt consolidation, right? And then you put it all together in one bucket, and then you have payments towards it that kills, you are able to bring that debt down quickly with discipline. There are instances where depending on what you have done, if you have built equity in a house and you have some money sitting somewhere, instead of paying all this interest on the debts that you have, maybe you take something, the equity money or some other money, or borrow from yourself. If you have an investment account that you could use, you may be advised to take some of that money and pay off the debt, and stay in the discipline of not piling up the debt again. Because if you don't change the behavior, then none of these things are going to work, right? In some cases, bankruptcy might be the solution, right? And I know, again, if we don't understand it, we all look down on bankruptcy like its credit score is going to be hurt, etc. Your credit score is already hurting, so it doesn't matter at some point when you need, and if bankruptcy is the solution, you could be, some people could be struggling with debt for years,
Yeah.
and maybe the solution could be bankruptcy, and they stay away from bankruptcy because they think their credit score is going to be bad. But that it's your credit score is already on the bottom. It's at 600, it's 540. Where else can it go? Like, so
Right.
sometimes you need a clean slate. So it all depends on your situation. But I want you to look at all these avenues, because all those are possibilities. And sometimes I would say bankruptcy can be good. I know people who have gone through it, and what happens is that they got their debt cleaned off, they got disciplined, they stopped spending, they everything was intentional, they built that credit score over time, another 3, 4, 5 years. After 7 years, things fall off. I mean, it's not even on your credit report anymore. And
Mm.
then, at that time, you've built the habit of saving and investing, etc., and you don't go back to that same, place where you were. So it all depends on your situation, but there's many ways to bring that debt down so that you can improve the score, and you can, be a little financially stable or free to be able to take on other investments and other projects in the future.
Amazing. So, money mistakes we've talked about so far. Let me just make sure we are counting them, right? Changing your mindset. It's important. If you don't know how to relate to money, no matter how much money we give you, it's still not going to work. We have to change how we relate to money. It's a mistake that we make. We think the same way we used to think when we were, back home, and apply it here, and it doesn't always work for us, right? And then also building the habit of savings, like learn how to save with little, and then build it up when you have more, because then it becomes a habit. A habit is anything you've done over and over and over and over again. So it becomes natural to you. You just do it, right? So it can be a savings of $5 every week or $10 every week, but do something, save, put some money aside. And then also understanding, the things that are available for us, like the 401k matches, they are there for us. Maybe just, just start with the minimum they will match, and
Yep.
just get some money from that, you know. And then we also talked about money mistakes of, credit, not understanding how the credit works, and just going and accumulating these cards. But now we've said if you're in that situation, you can actually come out of it. Okay. And you come out of it by stopping some of the things you're doing because it's not working. You have to stop borrowing, full stop. If you're already in debt, you have to stop borrowing. You are better off being at negative, at zero, than negative 10,000, right? So stop borrowing, stop using your credit card, stop even, like we talked at the beginning, stop giving monies that you don't have. You don't have the money and you keep borrowing to give people money to look like you have money. Like, really, you don't have the money. You owe a lot of money, and you're negative 9,000, and you're still going to borrow to give to someone who wants 1,000. It's not adding up. You have to stop. You have to stop borrowing. Okay. So let's do that. And then we talked about the mistake of not having a financial advisor. Even when we don't have anything, that's a good time to have a financial advisor. And we have a lot of people who are right here available at your service who can help. Are you ready to, transform your life and just say, you know what, I'm ready to take a step from now and change something about what I'm doing? I think the last one I wanted to talk about is remittances and setting expectations and boundaries. We will always send money back home. That is something that we'll do. But it can also be a mistake, like we said, right? If
Yep.
we don't have a boundary around it, if we don't define how much are we going to send, right? Because, like we said, there will be need every day we wake up, there's a need somewhere, you know. So how do we set boundaries realistically so that we can also protect our peace, knowing that we've done our due diligence, and now we can take care of our own selves here.
All right. I think that's where budgeting comes in, Lady Pasatina. And again, that's another thing that we have to learn when we immigrate, because we came from a cash system to this system where it's not just cash. We have, what I call virtual money that is at play.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if we don't learn the system and understand the system, then we get into trouble. A way of managing your money in the system is to have a budget. And
Mm,
if your budget says, this is how much money I am, this is how much is going out in expenses, this is how much I'm giving out for remittances, and this is how much I'm saving and putting to tithe and doing this and that, then you have that discipline. So if for whatever reason, if you are not meeting your budget, you come to the table and then you look at that budget again and see how you apportion things. If you don't set a budget for yourself, you are always going to run into that scenario where you're probably spending more than it's coming in.
right.
Very, very, very little. There are very little instances where you can be, spending without getting in the hole. So it is good to understand how much you earn, how much goes out, what your expenses are, what should that remittance be, and discipline yourself and keep it. Every now and then you may have a bonus. Maybe you take on extra part-time job and you make a little extra money. Yep, you can, add to what you have budgeted for. But if you don't do something different about your situation and you are not looking at your budget, then you are just continuing to spend, you will never change that situation that you are in. So it pays to have that budget and stick with it.
Hmm. So I have two questions for you, Akos. You know, how do you stay with a budget and feel, led to give? So here you are, you have your budget, you have things you're doing, and then you have either someone calling up with a need, or you feel like, there's this, great opportunity to give, right? So how do you manage that in a budget? Because I think that's where we struggle. We feel like, we want to be very free to flow and just give as much as we can. So I know people who have been in the church at that point, that the last money they have for the household, they just drop it by faith, which is works. But then at a
All right.
point, you also have to figure out, okay, how am I going to take care of these people, right?
Exactly. When it comes to the things of faith, it's so hard to, try to convince people because sometimes that voice that you may be hearing may not really be the Holy Spirit talking to you. And it's hard
Mm,
for somebody like me to decide on was that truly the God talking to you or not. So
right.
that one, I'm going to leave it to, your spiritual, fathers and your spiritual teachers to continue to educate you on how you discern the voice of the Spirit. However, putting down a budget is something that can be done. You write it down. You have somebody help you if you can't figure it out. Because I know it's not all of us who have the strength and the knowledge to do a budget, but it can be very simple if you talk to people. And I think that's one of our challenges, just opening ourselves up and talking and getting information and understanding. It's a problem that I
It's a
don't know if it's our cultural background or
yeah.
we just people just don't like to talk. And believe you me, and I've been there. Like when before I was able to understand some of these things, I'll get these conversations, talk to a financial advisor. Financial advisor is asking, how much money do you make? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell him how much money I make. Why do you want to know my business? Like, and I was very uncomfortable talking about how
Mm,
much I make because I felt like, oh, I'm broke. Why do I tell you I only make $20,000 or whatever? But with time, when I got pushed and pushed and pushed, and I started talking about it, I'm not shy anymore because I'm not more than what I am right now. It is what it is. The amount
mm,
of money I take home is what I take home. But by me opening up, it's helped me make some good decisions,
yeah.
set some realistic goals, right? I knew at some point in my life I couldn't buy a car. I couldn't afford a certain type of car. I couldn't afford a certain type of house. Understood. And I wasn't trying to pursue what I couldn't afford because my budget says so, then my income says so.
Mm,
So now I can freely talk about my finances with a financial advisor. And it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes a financial advisor may even be earning less, but it's knowledge. Knowledge is power.
knowledge.
So the fact that you are talking to a financial advisor doesn't mean that, oh, that person is rich and you are poor and they are,
Oh, yeah.
having pity on you and all that. No, it
Mm-mm.
really doesn't mean any of that. It's just breaking it down and
Leveraging.
telling you how does the money work? How does where you are right now work for you with the budgets that you have? And this is what you can attain if you take these steps. That's what that conversation is about. So please open up with your financial advisors and tell them, be upfront. This is how much is going in my 401k. This is how much is going into this investment portfolio that I have. This is my mortgage. This is how much I take home. And this is the things that I spend money on. Come up with a list of your expenses so they can help guide you for you to get to the next step of your financial goal and building wealth. So, in terms of back to your question of not having and giving, if you get that advice and you have somebody guiding you, please stick to it. Have the discipline to stick to it. God understands you. If you don't have, God is not forcing you to give. Remember that God wants you to be financially stable. So if God wants you to be healthy, rich, and wealthy, please, God is not going to ask you to give when you don't have. That's definitely I could tell you. So you have to really watch those voices. It may not be God. Yep. And
Okay.
I don't want to speak bad about the church, but the church these days talks too much about giving to the church, which is not the body of Christ, but to a building and to individuals. So you got to be very mindful of to as to where this is coming from, where that voice is coming from.
Amazing, amazing. Well, one more thing, financial mistake that I have seen a lot of times is not having life insurance. And the reason being that we feel like, oh, well, when we die, we are not here. We are not going to be worried. I've told someone, I said, if you don't get a life insurance and you die, I trust you. I would have you cremated and yes,
That's not cheap too.
we'll send the ashes back home to your family. And the person couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, because it's not like you couldn't do it. You just did not take the initiative to do it, right? And I get it. It's a mindset shift. We are coming from a community where when you pass, that's where we gather all the money we can to paint the house and do everything for you. But here you can have life insurance. In fact, at work you will have it, but you need to have your own personal life insurance, because if you quit that job, you're not taking the life insurance with you. And normally it's more expensive when you go out of job to keep that life insurance, because a group insurance, and that is cheaper. So what have you seen with that one, life insurance? Because I've seen some
Oh,
really noble people pass and there's no life insurance. I'm like, what?
thank you so much for bringing that up, Lady Pastor. So, life insurance as a product, as a financial product, has really evolved. And our
Mm,
people are not aware. A lot of immigrants are not aware of how this financial product has evolved with time. And many years ago, it used to be that you buy life insurance. It was called term life insurance.
mhm.
You die, and after
You
you die,
never did.
your family get paid some money, right?
Mhm.
That used to be it. It changed. It morphed into something called whole life, where yes, you could borrow from it at some point, but there were still some restrictions, and you couldn't really, build that cash flow in your life, your life insurance product. It has evolved to what it's these days is out there. It's called an IUL, Index Universal Life, where you actually can build some wealth with your life insurance. So it's not, the name life is now really for your life, not for only when you die.
You die.
You have
Mm.
that death piece to it where your family gets paid money, but you can actually build some money in it. That's why it's a universal index insurance. So when you put that money in, some of it goes to when you pass away, and they'll be, and some of it is actually growing, like a stock investment is growing on the stock index rate, and then you can actually borrow from it at some point. Again, it's not, you put it in and you take it out, but at least you are building some wealth there, where when you are older and let's say you are sick, you can get some money out of this life insurance and use it for that, situation. Or sometimes you just need to just help yourself, right? Borrow some money and take care of yourself or some situation, emergency in the future. And if you have built this life insurance, or you have this kind of financial product or portfolio, you can borrow from it, and you don't even have to pay back in
Mm.
certain situations. You need to learn. You got to really learn about these things, because if you don't learn,
Yeah.
you don't know. In certain situations, you don't have to pay back. What happens is, if in the event of you passing, whatever you borrowed will be taken out of that big amount that needs to be paid to your family, right? So it's something you can use and look into. If you haven't heard anything about life insurance policies and the different ones that exist today, please see Lady Pastor Tina. I know she knows a lot of life insurance agents that have partnered with Masterpiece, that she can direct you to, and they can help you and share with you all the different types that are out there, so that you can borrow from it. There's just too much GoFundMe going on for people passing these days that we can avoid, because we are in an age where this product has evolved so much that everybody could have something small put aside, and not only for the event of you passing, but whilst you are alive, when you are in a certain dire situation, you can borrow from that financial portfolio. So that's
Amazing.
what I,
Amazing.
yeah, have to
Well,
share on
that
that one.
that is important. We need to look at life insurance. So if you don't have one, that's a mistake. If you have one, and like Akos is saying, it's evolved. Okay. So go and look at your policy. Some of us we buy the policy and then we also put it on the shelf. And I think a year or two we had Archie, and he said the life insurance is like, your pizza, right? And then you can have that plain pizza or just one topping. And we have something called riders, okay? And riders are the different things that you add to that pizza. So you can have pepperoni and then you can have sausage or chicken or even pineapple. You can add different things.
Pineapple.
You can have a whole pineapple upside down type of pizza. But that is how your life insurance can be. So go back and look at your policy if you have one. If you don't have one, that's a mistake that we have to fix, right? You have to fix it. But if you have one, the other mistake that you may be making is not looking at your life insurance to see, do you have some riders that if today you are sick or you have this terminal illness, you can use your life insurance as you are alive, right? So those are important. And guess what? We have partnered with so many financial people that are ready on standby to help. I can recommend them. I mean, I don't practice right now as a life insurance agent, but I know enough people to help you to get to that goal of being, financially independent and being able to work on your goals to success. Okay. So we are almost at the top of the hour. I don't see that you have any questions. So I'm sure we're all taking it in and we're all going to have that epiphany as we sit down today, having dinner or lunch and thinking about, so what's happening with my 401k? Some of us, we have to go back and look at our 401k and stop borrowing from it to pay electric bills and all that. So that's on the side. That's on the side. That's
Big
just
mistake.
it's hardships. It's for hardships, not really true hardships, not for buying the next pair of shoes or Michael Kors or something like that. It's really for hardships. So all these conversations are doing is to trigger us to go back and look at our finances. Okay. And we've talked a lot about finances this month. And today was really just us chatting about, some of the mistakes that we've made, we've seen happen, and we're just trying to learn. Next month, we are going to focus on the immigrant story. Why is that going to be important? Because we all have stories, every one of us. And some of these stories that we've talked about with finances are going to be the stories that we share. Others will just be the stories around how you even figure out things here, right? And who else will be in the house or working with us this month, coming month, will be Maji Maj herself, right? So make a date with us because you could win one of her books. And she has a new book that I'm waiting to get a copy of. It's called Conversations About Race, but we'll be using the Shimmigrants as our book of the month for September. You don't want to miss out on those conversations because here at Masterpiece, our focus is to help you as the immigrant to be able to have these resources from housing, transportation, legal, career, everything that will help you to be successful in this journey. Why? Because you're a masterpiece and you deserve the best. Okay. Of course, your last thoughts as we wrap up today.
All right. I'm very passionate about us learning more about, creating wealth and building wealth. And it takes time.
Mm,
It's taken me years, the last, I want to say 7 years, I have learned a lot and I'm still learning. So I want to encourage everybody listening to us today to learn. Please ask the questions. Please build the right network. Talk with a financial advisor. You may talk with one, it might not go well, or you might not get everything that you need, but continue to press on and learn. Learn about
mm,
these things that we've talked about today. Learn and try to understand credit. Understand where you are in your credit score and try to know where your financial portfolios are. Understand what you have and where you can go in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And the more you learn, the better you become. And it turns into, a successful financial wealth building. So I want to encourage everybody, learn, learn, learn. Thank you.
Learn, learn, learn. Financial literacy is possible. And maybe you are just, you just need a book. But I think that if I give you a book, you may not read it. So depending. So we have a book option that we are getting ready to roll out, and then we have the Bank of America financial workshop as well. Your take, vote, okay? If you're on there before you drop off. So I see Nanama on there. I see Sheila was on, and then Amani. Vote, vote, vote. Let me know which one will be helpful for you in your financial journey. Is it a book or is it a workshop? Okay. But until we come up your way next time, it's always a pleasure to serve and to be here and to continue to support your growth, your journey, and to help us all be successful. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you, Akos. We appreciate you always making the time. All right. All right then. Bye.